Hey, it's Chuck.
Hurry up! Hurry up! Go! Go! Hurry up! Gotta go! Gotta go! Hurry up, balls! Hurry up! Gotta be run down! Gotta be run down! It ain't practice! Everybody's gotta be practice!
Let's get it.
And I don't think he's going to throw the ball as much as he thinks he's going to throw the ball now that Chip Kelly's on board. And I'm happy about that. More quarterback.
The truth is, Ryan Day has made a change philosophically, but it's none of those.
You all know who wins. LSU is the drunkest fan base in the country. And welcome into Juck on Bucks on a Friday. Thank you so much for joining me as always, guys. We're officially underway, and we've got a ton to talk about today. We got a full day one recap from practice. The new 105-man roster presents a whole lot of new challenges. How are we going to go about this? We're losing walk-ons. I put some serious thought into it. We're going to go over that. The Juckeyes have chosen a new out-of-conference rival for the Buckeyes, and it may surprise you, or you may totally guess it right now. We'll see. And another media dork has poked the bear that is the Ohio State fan base, and I bit, like I always do. We'll go over that as well. There are some days when I struggle on what to put in that intro in the beginning of the show. That was not today. I have... because as we discussed for the last couple of weeks, they let fans in for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. School president Ted Carter was even in attendance today, talked to the team, and I know it's corny, but having an athletic director like Ross Bjork and a president like Ted Carter who understand the old mantra that football is the front porch of your university is great for us. It's great for the program, and it's great for the university. Everybody wins, and I'm so happy that we got an administration that's on board, except for the usual handful of nerdy professors who are jealous of the attention that college football teams get. It is what it is. You're never going to change that. But the end result is the fans and the media in attendance got a ton of picks from yesterday. I'm really happy about that. I sifted through a ton of them. I got some cool ones to show you guys. We have had teams that have returned a lot of starters, and generally when we have a team that's experienced, returning a lot of starters, usually had a nice record the year before, and we're heading into a season, we kind of got a feel for pretty much exactly how that team's going to look like. There usually isn't much change, which is what makes this year so strange, because we're heading into this preseason with the addition of Chip Kelly, the different skill set of the quarterback, the crazy backfield we have, the helmet communications, and they got the quarterback under center. They're huddling. It's just going to look so different. And I'm far more excited than usual because of all this, and because I love the pieces and I love the way it's trending. And Ryan Day hit on a lot of this stuff on his Thursday press conference. These are a lot of changes, and they're changes you don't generally see from a team that just went 11-1 in the regular season the year before. And I've said it before, and I'll say it right now. I give a lot more grace than I otherwise would have this year to Ryan Day. Even as irritated as I was at how the season ended, it's what motivated me to start this show. But for him to have the stones to go totally against his nature and give up play calling, and you can see when he talks about it how much it bothers him to have to do that. But he did. And he dug in and he evaluated his program, diagnosed what he thinks needs improved, and underwent some serious, uncomfortable changes in the program. He didn't want to do any of this. He feels he needs to. And all that from a team that was just 6 points away from making the playoffs. When so many coaches, we see these dudes, they're so stubborn. They dig in, they say, I'm right there, keep chopping wood. They say it all the time, just keep chopping wood. They're not changing anything. And we just rarely see them take serious inventory and make changes like this. So I give him a ton of credit. I think he is absolutely thriving in his new CEO role. I think he's doing way better than I thought he would. And I think it's going to pay off big for us and for him in his career long term. A little bit of a change yesterday. So a bit of a running joke for smart Alex like me and Chris. Chris was on the show with me last Sunday, and this is a running joke that it doesn't matter what you ask Ryan Day in one of those press conferences. He refuses to give you a direct answer. And you can sit and listen to someone ask him a question, and 30 seconds into his response, I won't even call it an answer, 30 seconds into his response, I find myself, wait, what was the question? Because he's so far off in another direction. And you can understand why coaches do this. They don't want to divulge a lot of stuff. But I honestly think that he has conditioned himself so much to not answering a direct question in these things that he's like borderline incapable of it. And it's quite comical. But yesterday was different. He was up there for like 35 minutes and he answered almost every question concisely, directly. It was unusual. It seriously was. Certainly understandable why you don't want to answer him. I get it. But, he takes it to the extreme. But I will tell you this. He has reduced media access every single year he's been there. So I told you guys yesterday that the media not allowed in to practice on Saturday and Sunday. The fans are, which is odd. Well, I got their full media schedule. They're only allowed to attend 5 practices out of the 25 practices, which I know when I bring this stuff up, like some of you guys could not possibly care less about this. But the truth is, it's reduced every year. 25 practices, they can only get in 5. And that's how we get our news. Like, they're there for us. I know a lot of people make fun of them and stuff. Like, I get it. The beat guys. We bag on them for certain things. And sometimes they deserve it, sometimes not. But they're there for us. So by reducing their access to 5 days out of the 25, and they're not there like the entire practice. They don't just get to go wherever they want. They're there for a little period of practice and only 5 times. That's kind of irritating. We're nosy. We want to know what's going on. I laid out my list of 10 guys yesterday, the guys I was really watching for as we started camp. And one of them is Tegra Tshabola. And in that press conference yesterday with Ryan Day, Tegra had 3 questions asked about him, which is kind of odd. But Tegra, an Ohio guy, borderline 5-star, the prerequisite size already coming out of high school, maybe a little doughy. He's gotten in better shape. And in 3 years, well, not in 3 years, but in his 3rd year, you would hope that unless he's got a stud starter in front of him, he would kind of be ready to go. And it's pretty clear with everybody asking questions about him, and I've heard the guys close to the team talking about him, that he's really impressing a lot of people. They're thinking the same thing that I am, blown away by his size. Probably seen him in high school with this crazy film, punching the ground and such. A real mean streak for a quiet dude, but he looks like he could play in the NFL right now. In fact, that's how one of the questions started. Tegra looks like he can play in the NFL right now, and then question. But Tegra ran with the ones yesterday, and he did that because Carson Hinsman was apparently sick. He did not participate yesterday, and let's hope that's just a one-day thing for him, because losing, a couple of days in camp in a close battle can seriously damage your chances of winning a starting job. But Ryan Day was asked, what does Tegra need to do to start? And he said 3 things. He needs to know what he's doing, he needs to know how to do it, and he needs to do it consistently. Know what he's doing, he's done that. How to do it, done that too. The question is, can he do it consistently over time? And then he went into this. The big question is now going through this preseason, because we're going to wear down teams in the 4th quarter this year during games. And if that's our goal, we have to be able to do that, especially up front in the offensive line. If he can consistently show this preseason that he can do that, he's going to find himself in games. So I take this quote to mean this is a conditioning issue. Needs to consistently do it over time, and then he goes straight into, we're going to wear teams down in the 4th quarter. And he needs to show he can consistently do this. Like he's burning out early. Like, that's the way I'm taking it. There's been some back and forth amongst some folks as to what exactly he means that Tegra's failing in. Some people think he doesn't know what he's doing. I think he addressed that part in the quote. I don't know, guys. Tell me what you think. Really curious to know, though, as that is one of the only spots that really is up for grabs right now, is that right guard spot. Take a look at this running back drill here. So we got Quinshon running back here. Coach Locke is in the black, and he's going to slap at the ball. Watch him slap. Quinshon takes his run through the little gauntlet here. Now Peoples is up. Watch him slap at Peoples. It's quite a bit different than the slap against Quinshon. Peoples looks almost as quick, man. Peoples is a stud. Watch that one again. This is a good one. Man, those are quick feet. Locke is an intense coach. I love it. These backs are going to be sweet this year. This is going to be so fun to watch these guys. Not a ton to gain from practice with these backs. We didn't see a ton of footage, at least I didn't, of them, mostly passing. But Quinshon broke a long run up the middle for a touchdown. A lot of people are thinking he's the best back in college football. A lot of people thought that last year. I'm partial to Trey. I just am. I don't know if I'm being totally objective about it, but when we had the best back, one of the best backs in football on our team, who was our guy, I just don't like the thought of someone coming in and just overshadowing him like that. Like, I like, okay, they're a tandem of the two best. I don't like calling Quinshon the best. I'm not going to do it. And I hope that it puts a chip on Travion's shoulder and he absolutely smashes it this year. Ryan Day talked in the press conference about having just the 4 running backs. He said he's not concerned. He also said that TC tore his ACL going over a bag, just like that. That sucks, man. I hate that for him. I hate that for him so much. The prerequisite for Ryan Day saying he was okay with having just 4 backs was, we'll be okay if they stay healthy. Yes, if they stay healthy, we'll be just fine. I'm a little uneasy about 4 myself, but, he's the boss. The wide receivers, JJ made another spectacular catch, which is almost like you just expect to hear that at this point. There's fans from other teams that every time I bring up JJ, if they're watching the show, there's a couple of them that'll always put up that he's not that special. They list his measurables. They list another wide receiver in college football with similar measurables, say they're just about the same guy. And I don't know how to put into words what makes JJ so different. I wish I could, but it's kind of like, you'll see. And when you do, you're going to owe me an apology. They just don't get it yet, guys. They don't get it. It's like we've already been through the acceptance of, okay, yeah, this guy's just that good. And we get to watch the rest of the country come to that realization soon. And that's pretty exciting. But he is human. He dropped the ball today in practice. But Carnell Tate's the one that stole the show. Carnell Tate made catch after catch after big catch, and everybody was buzzing about him. Last week, Ryan Day said about Brandon Inniss that you can feel him when he's out there. He said something similar about Carnell today. Not today, Thursday. He said the limit for Carnell is through the roof. He's someone you don't typically hear, but you can feel him out there. He takes pride in knowing exactly what to do, precision routes. He's well prepared and he's tough. He's going to be a major contributor on offense this year if we're going to do what we want to do. Last year, Carnell played a lot as a freshman, 11 games, 23 balls. That's a lot as a freshman at Ohio State. Freshmen don't generally play at wide receiver, especially for a team that only threw for like 3,000 yards. That's pretty darn impressive. But for some reason, some folks think that maybe he didn't live up to the hype or the expectation numbers-wise. I think he looked great out there. And without a doubt, the hype that I think, he's the next guy. That's the hype. He's the next one of those dudes. Absolutely on that trajectory for me, in my eyes. I think he's for sure looking way better already. He's bigger. He's really going to pop. And Brandon Inniss also looked amazing yesterday. Dylan Davis of the Delaware Gazette, Juck on Buck's resident guest beat writer, said that Brandon Innes really caught his eye yesterday, and he's going to be a nightmare for DBs. He is so strong, so physical. That run after catch, he's absolutely going to be smashing dudes, truck sticking them. I cannot wait to see this guy. It's like we saw that one at Purdue last year. That was about it. And Mylan Graham also took the field. I got a picture of Mylan here. Here's Mylan wearing number 5. And a lot of folks comparing his playing style to Garrett Wilson. So very fitting. Freshman Demarion Witten was with the wide receivers. He came in supposedly as a tight end. He's been with the wide receivers ever since he came in. I think he's going to stay there. And I think he's going to be a really good player at some point. His film at Glenville looks really, really good. He's a bigger dude, obviously. They wanted him as a tight end at first. But I just don't see him ever bulking up like that. And it didn't make sense to me in the beginning. And I'm glad he has stayed with the wide receivers. We didn't get a ton of word about the tight ends, but Jelani Thurman looked really good catching the ball. We did hear that. And Julian Sayen's best throw of the day was a layered ball up the seam with an awkward arm angle that he hit perfectly. G. Scott in stride and led him in a way so that he could keep running. Julian doing Julian things and looking like the ball boy doing it. Absolutely got to love it. Let's get to those quarterbacks. The general takeaway on the day is a lot of short stuff from all of them. Not much of a big reveal. Projected starting quarterback Will Howard looked more comfortable than he did in spring, and that's great. At the press conference, somebody said to Ryan Day that Will looked more accurate today, and Ryan Day said, I did notice that. I thought there was some more zip on the ball and some more accuracy. As usual, from what we've heard throughout spring, the downfield ball was his bugaboo yesterday. And I think it's just time that we accept that the downfield game is going to be hit or miss with Will. That's just him as a quarterback, and that's okay. You got JJ, you got Carnell, you got dudes like that to help you in that situation, and other people don't have that. Devin Brown, in a lot of people's eyes, had a bit of a better day passing the ball than Will did, which are the same type of reports we heard most of spring. Devin passed the ball a little bit better than Will. And there are some people that have a hard time wrapping their heads around the fact that Will Howard seems to be the front runner for this competition when we consistently hear from pretty much every source that Devin Brown throughout spring and then again yesterday is just a more consistent passer. Curious to hear how you guys feel about that. To me, when choosing a starter at any position, you're weighing the pros and cons. There's lots of different jobs that you got to do at each position. No position demands just one skill. You can be a slow linebacker, but a sure tackler, or a guard who's excellent in pass blocking and terrible in run blocking. You can be a quarterback who's not as good at passing the ball, great at running the ball and running an offense with experience. You know, there's more than just passing the ball. And if Will Howard is the guy that the coach feels more comfortable with, he's got his reasons. He's decided that looking at these two guys, he's got his reasons. But the Devin Brown fans, a lot of them are not happy with that. They don't think that's being fair, or that's not a fair competition. I don't know that I agree with that. The good news for me is I really like both these guys. I'll be extremely happy if Devin Brown is the guy, but I think that Will is probably better suited for the job, and I expect that's the way it's going to go. But if Devin Brown does upset him and somehow win this job, I mean, that would be an amazing story. I would love it. You know, I do a podcast, a show. I love the story. And I love Devin Brown, man. I really do. But, you know, fair. I mean, come on. This is not fair. Nothing's fair. Day continued about Will. He thought the ball came out with more pace, more discernment, and a lot of accurate throws. They asked about Will Howard's physical changes as he looks quite a bit slimmed down. And Ryan Day said as soon as he got here, they challenged him to take some of that bad weight out, put some good weight on. And he definitely looks a lot leaner than when he first came in. Julian Sayen looked very crisp, didn't throw a pick. Aaron Nolan did record a pick. And Lincoln Kineholz apparently looked pretty good. On defense, Cody Simon was lining up with On defense, Cody Simon lined up with Sonny Styles was starting at will with the ones, and Gabe Powers and CJ Hicks were the second team. Powers had a really solid outing. Everybody was really surprised that he kept up with Quinshawn on a wheel route and coverage, so that's really good. And we've heard that Powers has really been coming around. I think the four of these guys are going to play a lot. When we listen to James Laurinaitis saying that he regrets not playing Cody more last year and saying that he might want to play 5 or 6 if he can get 5 or 6 ready, I think Gabe will be ready. And I think CJ and Sonny will obviously be ready. So that's 4 right there. And then it's a matter of Arvell. Can Arvell check the boxes that James needs him to check to get Arvell in the game? That'd be pretty cool. I'd like to see all 5 of those guys. On the defensive line, Jack Sawyer apparently was a man possessed. I don't have any good videos of Jack, but everybody was raving about him, amped up, ready to go. And I think we got a big season coming from Jack. Jack just looks, gosh, he's never looked better. His athleticism looks better. At the end of last season, it was just a different guy. It was like a different guy. I don't know what it was. He said at Big Ten Media Days, everybody clicks at their own rate, or everybody develops at their own rate. I just spent your 4th year, halfway through the season, I had given up on him ever being like that kind of player. I thought he was a really, really solid player throughout his junior year and heading into the first half of his senior year. But I'd given up on him being that dominating kind of player. But boy, what if he is? What if he actually turns out to be that kind of player? I'm telling you, there's some people who really are thinking that he might be. That would be so awesome. I would love that for him. Because let's be honest, guys, he took a lot of crap from Buckeye Nation. He really did. For not being a Boza brother, basically. For having that ranking that he did. No fault of his own. He didn't give himself that ranking. And for not being that type of player. For him to turn that around and actually become that kind of player, that would be awesome. I would love that for him. Mitchell Melton. Mitchell Melton was getting some reps with the one. We talked about Curry and Kenyatta being those second 2 up. And yesterday I said I wouldn't mind seeing Edric Houston get that shot. Well, Mitchell Melton, after that excellent spring game he had where he made like 3 really great plays, and I think we heard Josh Simmons say that he's the toughest guy to block. He's just awkward to block. Mitchell Melton is apparently really winning the coaches over because he got some reps with the ones, and that's awesome. Good for Mitch. I really like him. Caden Curry had a couple of pressures, and Caden McDonald was pretty disruptive up the middle. Let's take a look at a couple of these pictures. There's JJ, the alien. Carnell. And we saw Mylan Graham. QB3, what are we thinking here? Or QB3? Both, man, that looks like QB1 right there, doesn't it? He looks the part, as does he. Look at his arms. He's got a ton bigger. That's QB1 right there. Right? Or is that QB1? Not a flattering picture of our guy. There's Mitchell Melton on the left with Caden Curry on the right. Will Smith Jr. His body is starting to look like his old man's. Just super wide and big and long. Face is looking more mature. He's getting a lot older, man. That's awesome. I really like to look at him. I hope he can become a player. I loved his dad. That's Josh Mickens and Jason Moore. There's Bonsu again. Bonsu's a unit, man. Look at that dude. Bonsu is a unit. Jack almost got to him right there. Ooh, I got to show you this one of Donovan Jackson. Donovan Jackson.
They would do it in a heartbeat.
There you go. Look at that.
Yeah.
I love it.
Donnie. Love that. All right, on defense, Caleb Downs looked amazing. I saw a quote. Somebody said, Caleb Downs has spidey senses in real life. The reactions coming out from guys who have covered different Ohio State Buckeye teams for decades. Tons of secondary guys who played in the NFL, first rounders. The way they talk about Caleb Downs, like it's not JJ level, but it's not too far off. It's different. It's different than we hear him talk about your regular first rounder. It's just different. It is clear that this guy is just absolutely unbelievable and puts in that crazy work too. The fact that we got this guy for 2 years, like you got to pinch yourself because it's just amazing. We went from like just walking in the All-American walks in the door and you got him for 2 years. That's crazy. It really is. Denzel Burke looked really good today. A couple of pass breakups. Brandon Innes and Emeka were 1 and 2 up for punt returns. We also had Bryson Rogers back there, Jalen Ballard, a couple of other folks. No Caleb Downs back deep for punt returns. And I know I got a lot of disagreement about that, but I would love to see him with the ball in his hands. And he wants the ball in his hands too. I got a quote for you guys. So I was asked if I was Joe or if Indiana was trolling about the uniforms. They're not. And I read the quote about their press release. What they said was different. They said it formerly said Hoosiers instead of Indiana on the front. So they changed what it says on the front there. Justin Fry, coincidentally, a proud Indiana lineman. In fact, I think he still has the record for the most starts ever for an Indiana player. So good for him. I said I was going to root for him. I think he was a great Buckeye. But man, seeing him in the uniform, it kind of irks me. What do you guys think, guys? You still rooting for Julian Fleming after seeing him in the uniform? I was going to root for him. But when I see it, I don't like it. And here's our poll. So we started off with 16 teams. We're looking for an out-of-conference rival for the Buckeyes, the team we would most like to see them play every year in an annual rivalry to start off the season. It went down to the Final Four of Georgia, LSU, Notre Dame, and Clemson. And the winner is Notre Dame at 51%. And we could have skipped everything from the very beginning. And I think just said, all right, who do you guys think? And I'm disappointed in you guys. I really am. I thought we'd get something cool and exciting. Notre Dame, it's just so like, yeah, of course, Notre Dame. They're right next door. Whatever. How can you go wrong with Notre Dame? The Ohio State Notre Dame game, a huge game, 2 of the top 3 drawing teams in the entire world. You got to love it. Speaking of Notre Dame, so Lincoln Riley comes out and tries to kind of socialize or float the idea of potentially not playing Notre Dame. Notre Dame and USC have played something like 94 times. Obviously a big rival. They think they're a bigger rivalry than they really are. I don't know how important they are on the national scene to everybody else anymore. But Lincoln Riley floats it because he's obviously playing a tougher schedule now. But he's playing a tougher schedule, and that's would be his one big out-of-conference games. I showed you the other day the Buckeyes out-of-conference games. Like, it's unusual for us not to play at least one big out-of-conference game. And looking forward at our schedule here, you got the Texas series, home and home with Texas. Then it goes home and home with Alabama. Then home and home with Georgia. You can't really get 3 tougher matchups than that in six straight years with a great out-of-conference game. But Lincoln's trying to get out of his. And he first just kind of floated the idea. And this is going to fall into the hands of the committee to make sure that those matchups remain. Well, Notre Dame responded. Now, when I first said it, a lot of you guys said, I'd like to see all the Big Ten teams boycott playing Notre Dame. So essentially forcing them to join a conference or get no big games. I don't know if the Big Ten could do that alone, as they only have Purdue and USC on their schedule next year. I don't know if they have any plans to play any other Big Ten teams in the near future, but it would be funny to kind of force them to do it that way. I just think they could always get a matchup, and nobody wants to turn down that money. And I've kind of come to I don't care if they join a conference anymore. Really, I don't. As a matter of fact, if they join the Big Ten, we'd have to deal with their fans more, and they're so annoying. And speaking of annoying fans, I have had absolutely no issue with Oregon fans since I started the show. In fact, I'd rather enjoy interacting with them. They're respectful. They're nice to us when they come on our live shows. They're nice to change of pace. But I saw this yesterday, and I'm just like, can you try any harder?
That know the Big Ten, they know that team up north for Ohio State and Michigan. And you guys calling this that team out west, I think is so great because it's showing respect and showing an understanding for the rivalries of the Big Ten, but it's also kind of letting it be known that the Ducks are going to be a force in the Big Ten, and that other teams are probably going to start calling them that team out west because
I promise you, dude, nobody's calling you that team out west.
Want to say their name pretty soon.
Yeah, that's exactly the reaction we wanted, right? It was wanting to kind of hit on some of those Big Ten traditions, and we want to be a part of those. Like we want you, if you're an Ohio State fan, like we want you to hate us. Like that's the goal, right? Like we want to be known as that. And so that was definitely part of the goal. We kind of had a list of names that we were thinking of all kind of summer long. And for the Rooted in Substance documentary, we did a couple of interviews, and people were saying it without being prompted. Like everybody we interviewed kind of said like that team out west or a team out west, like some variation of it. And so that was what kind of like clicked in our heads, like, okay, this is the name.
Get out of here, dude. Who's calling Oregon that team out west? Have you ever heard anybody say that? I don't know. I don't know what he's talking about. Oregon fans, I know some of you who watch every day. Do you want to be called that team out west? Do these guys speak for you? That's what I want to know. Because those seem like a couple of tryhards, man. You're trying way too hard. Rivalries and hatred, that happens over hundreds of years. We fought a war with those folks up north over a shitty city. You're a little too far away for us to have that kind of hate. But furthermore, why do you want to have a relationship like that? We have enough dealing with them. It's all we can handle. We only want one of those kind of relationships. It's all day. It's every day. I don't want another. I enjoy you guys. Just keep it that way. We can be friendly rivalry. Friendly rivals. I don't want another one, man. I don't. Oh, Virginia's new uniform, guys. What do you think of this? Is this a hit or a miss? I'm torn. In a way, I like this old kind of style here, but I'm not sure I like the dual stripe. I like the tri-stripe. Tell me what you think. West Virginia also pops up some new ones, and I think they're a miss. They're a miss for me. I do not like the big collar stripe. I don't like the goofy shoulder stripe. Not for me at all. We got a list here of the top quarterbacks of the 2000s, according to ESPN. And these lists are generally just awful and corny because you look at him and you see your guy and you just get irritated that he's too low. That said, Troy Smith is number 37. And the amount of disrespect that Troy Smith gets, I don't know if you're aware of this, but people call Troy Smith the worst Heisman winner of the last 30 years. And that's just, it's asinine. I don't know if they just never watched him play. They look at his stats and try, like that was before the big offensive boom. I mean, Troy in any of those offenses in the last, we could look at if we put Troy in some of the offenses that some of these guys that were ahead of him, let's say, put Troy in Texas A&M's Johnny Manziel off. Put him there. Put Troy in that offense and see what he does. Put Troy on LSU's offense, Jaden Daniels' offense. Put him in Jaden Daniels' spot. Let's see what he does. It's just a crazy amount of disrespect. I don't get it. I don't appreciate it. Not one bit. My favorite player in the class of 2025, Devin Sanchez, getting ready for one more ride, taking his senior pictures at North Shore And would you look at the length of his arms? Those are abnormally long arms. I mean, that's wild. To be that kind of athlete, as long as he is, 6'2" and 3/4. Okay, on the recruiting front, Messiah Delhomme, we talked about him yesterday. He is the safety out of Newport News, Virginia, and he is now going to make his decision, he's decided, on August 10th. He is down to Virginia Tech, Virginia, Maryland, and Ohio State. One of those schools is not like the other. The last time he was at Ohio State, he said Ohio State definitely at the top of my board. And August 10th, we're going to be right here, and we're going to celebrate when he chooses to go to the Buckeyes. He'll be our fourth safety in the class with Fahim Delane, Cody Haddad, and Deshaun Stewart. Add on Messiah Delhomme, and you got yourself a heck of a unit. You already do, but, you know, he even makes it better. A top 200 prospect in the 247 composite, borderline top 100 in 247's internal rankings. So a really good player. He's 6'1", 195. I really like him. So good news there. I think I swore I wasn't going to bring this up today, and the only reason I am is because there was a question asked to Ryan Day at the press conference about it. Therefore, I'm obliged. So we talked about the barbecue that was not last week, and a lot of people were very upset and saying, like, how could you possibly think that a barbecue is going to sway this kid's decision one way or the other? It's not about the barbecue. Those folks who were saying that were totally misunderstanding the people who felt like I did, which was you missed a huge opportunity. It had nothing to do with the barbecue swaying his decision one way or the other. Nothing to do with their hosting a barbecue for me and making me feel special. It wasn't anything like that, which was a lot of the comments I got. This is about allowing him, and you only get very few times throughout the cycle to bring these guys on to campus like this. This was about allowing him to go spend the weekend at Tennessee, in Nebraska, and not Ohio State. Out of sight, out of mind. That's all it was about. And as you can see, what's happened since he spent that weekend in Tennessee and didn't visit Columbus, momentum has picked up, and it's not coming from nowhere. And Ryan Day said they hadn't had a day off all June. I certainly sympathize with that. He wanted to give him a 3-day week, recharge the batteries. I get it. It's a tough decision as a boss. But that decision may have started the ball rolling to what inevitably is losing the recruit in that 6 months of strong effort that they put forth to get the guy. You set the ball rolling. Recruiting comes down to this. I mean, it's just this. That's all it is. And when you see enough of these battles and you lose enough of these battles, you know that. And he knew the risk he was taking in doing it. Like, I understand if you don't follow the nuts and bolts of this like all the time, that this sounds ridiculous. I get it. It really does. I know. But he knows too. He absolutely knew the risk he was taking and letting him go to Tennessee and not come to Ohio State. He knew it. He chose to take the 3-day weekend. And, you know, hey, end of the day, his program, he's the boss, his decision. I respect it. But I hope they don't lose the kid. I hope they don't lose the kid. Because it's like a powder keg out there, man. It's a powder keg out in them Twitter streets. Oh, one more uni to show you. This, my favorite in a while. I love the double stripe on the Ole Miss. That's beautiful. Just like LSU. I love that look. Good looking. Good looking. And I think that is, we got to put that helmet on our next poll, don't we? Not the white one, but the powder blue one. Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti said, let's see what happens in the first 12-team playoff before we talk about expanding it to 14 or even more. And he'll keep an open mind. I hope that he does not keep an open mind, because I don't want to see this thing go any further. I thought 12 was too many to begin with. I still think so. And 14 would further make it, every time you expand it and every time you make it automatic that a bunch of the best teams in college football make the playoff every year. You take away all the drama of the regular season watching those teams. And no, seeding is not dramatic. It's whatever. We're still in. It's just not as dramatic. But I want you to see this is dramatic. This is J.D. Pickles. J.D. Pickle is an On3 college football show host, and he's one of these hosts that do the 8 to 10 minute segments. They take one topic, and that's the show. It's like 8 minutes long, and it's usually something sensational. Well, this was his sensational thing of the day. He did his bracket, and as you can see here, the conference winners, number 1 seed Georgia in the SEC, number 2 Oregon in the Big Ten, still weird to say, number 3 Miami in the ACC, and number 4 Utah in the Big 12. In the 7-10 matchup, you got Florida State and Alabama. In the 6-11, you got Ohio State, Tennessee, which means Ohio State lost to Oregon in the Big Ten championship. In the 5-12, you got Ole Miss and Appalachian State representing the group of 5. In the 8-9, you've got Texas and Notre Dame. Now, he goes on through his show, and the Ducks and the Buckeyes meet in the quarterfinal. The Ducks win, and that was their 3rd win against the Buckeyes because he made sure to add that they also beat the Buckeyes in Eugene. 3 times in 1 year, he said, the Ducks beat us. I'm going to have to start calling them the team out west after all that. All right, so rosters are changing. There's no way around it. We currently have 85 scholarships. You get a total of 120 guys. So from 85 to 120, those are all your walk-ons. And those are leaving forever. The change sucks. But now, instead of 85 scholarships, it's going to be 105 scholarships. And the walk-on, this is next year, the walk-on program as it currently stands is over. Teams are going to have to learn how to deal with the less bodies. And Ryan Day said that's going to take an adjustment. He's brought it up several times. Also, 15 less chances for guys living their dream. Guys like you or I who love Ohio State football. And nothing connects us quite as much as the thought of an 18 to 22-year-old who could have a scholarship somewhere else, like a TC Caffey, and chooses to play at Ohio State because he wants to live that dream because he loves Ohio State. Just to be a grunt, some of them. Some of these guys could really go play a lot in Division II or Division III, and they choose to be somebody who they know. Well, they know they're never going to play at Ohio State. They just want to wear the uniform and be part of the team. And I think that's awesome. Every once in a while, one of your preferred walk-ons becomes Xavier Johnson or Terry Glenn. Those are few and far between, but those stories are amazing. And it's over as it currently exists, and it's garbage. But there is a silver lining. For the walk-ons now, I think some of them are going to get put on scholarship. And today, Ryan Day said that they were at 80 scholarships. We knew that. They're now maxed out. So the Buckeyes did put 5 walk-ons on scholarship right now, which is excellent. He wouldn't say who, but that's awesome. Don't know quite why you got to be mum about that, but whatever, his prerogative. But now you go up to 105 scholarship players. What's the best strategy? So for 1 to 85, I think obviously you are going to recruit the same way you currently do. But then you got 20 more scholarships. Let's start with transfers out. We lost 25 guys to the transfer portal last year. Do we think that's going to stay the same? Go up, go down? What did other schools that recruit like us do? Let's look at Georgia. Georgia, 24 transfers out. That also seems like a lot. You would expect this to come down, or wouldn't you? I don't know. I don't know what we can plan on. How about another school like us? Texas. Texas lost 25. Pretty odd. Ohio State, Texas, Georgia all lose 25 guys exiting out of the program in the transfer portal. I don't really see a reason why that number would change much. I definitely don't see a reason why it would go down. I can see a reason why it might go up. unless some of these guys start hearing the horror stories of getting stuck in the portal. But generally that happens to not usually guys who transfer out of Ohio State, Georgia, and Texas. They usually find a home. So if we can say, I don't know, 20 guys, 25 guys head out of the portal every year, you're losing 20 a year to graduation or the NFL, let's say. That's 45 roster spots you got to fill every single year between your recruiting class and the portal. Now, this year we brought in 7 transfers. Let's assume the norm of bringing in guys out of the transfer portal goes up to 10 or 15. That means you need a recruiting class of 30 to 35 guys. Our average class the last 4 cycles has been 22 guys. So we're talking 8 to 13 more recruits. But I don't think you're going to target normal Ohio State caliber recruits, the guys who would generally be part of those 22-man classes, like the next best high-rated 4-star all the way down the line. I think you're going to add guys like Bodpin Miller this year, Nolan Davenport from Massillon, who came in and camped and didn't end up getting his offer, went and signed at Wisconsin. You can now take that flyer on a guy like that and hope that you can put that extra 30 pounds of muscle on him and work with him. Kentrell Reinhardt, the running back who went to NC State. Cedric Works, Quentin Simmons, Jermeel Atkins, Preston Bowman, Brennan Ward. All those dudes, Ohio's best, went down to play at Kentucky. Jermeel Atkins is 6'8", 290-pound tackle. You know, these are dudes that all have maybe one question mark about him. Dwayne Galloway to Purdue. One question mark or one, Ohio State takes basically perfect recruits. They're already ready-made, so you don't have to gamble. You don't have to gamble that this kid might grow 2 inches. You need him to grow 2 inches. You don't have to take the risk. You can find the guy that already is those 2 inches taller. Or this kid's maybe a little slower. You know what I mean? Our recruits are almost perfect. You look at our running backs, they're all 5'10", 5'11", or 6 foot and 205 to 215 pounds. A perfect prototype. Now, everybody wants the prototype. Very few places can get the prototype. Ohio State can get 4. You know what I mean? So you can get the prototype at every position. This opens it up to being able to take Ohio kids who will be loyal to the program. They'll stay longer. They won't go into the portal. They'll try to develop, and some of them are going to hit. And you load up in the trenches. You definitely take all the best big men in the state of Ohio. And I think that this is the way that you're absolutely going to go. Another benefit is you also keep another team like a Michigan State under D'Antonio from getting really good off the backs of the next best players in Ohio that Ohio State doesn't take, which is what's currently happening in Kentucky right now. Thankfully, we don't have to play them like we did those D'Antonio teams with a bunch of angry Ohio kids who didn't get recruited by Ohio State. So while we lose the walk-on program, I think this is the way that they're going to play it, and I think it's the smartest way to play it. All right, guys, that's my show for tonight. I appreciate you so much for watching. This will conclude my first week over at Menace, which was really just 2 days, but it's been a fantastic week. I didn't get a single negative comment yesterday from anyone who wasn't a jerk, so I appreciate you so much. Check me out on podcast. I'm on all the platforms. And follow me at Twitter at JuckOnBucks and send me a message if you go to practice. I'd love to see your video and put it on the show. Have a good day. Juck and Bucks out.